Went undercover online to find out that my wife is cheating on me and caught her in a hotel room with her coworker. Wife, 31-year-old, and I, 33-year-old, have known each other for 8 years, married for 6. First of all, thank you for taking the time to read this, but also, please bear with me as I haven't slept properly in the last few days and my head's been spinning around like crazy. My wife went on this work trip abroad with a few coworkers. First couple of days, they were all staying at a hotel, and even though she had very busy days, she always FaceTimed me at the end of the day. Everything seemed fine. On the third day, 2 days ago, they moved to a different location to work on a big project with other local coworkers. The day was stressful, so she didn't write me much throughout the day. She writes me 4 hours later, at around 11 p.m., their time, saying that she's going to the sauna with her female friend she's supposedly sharing a room with. Let's call her V. She's from abroad. The sauna is in this compound where they're staying at, and it's something common to do in the country. Except it's quite late for that, given the long day they had. She then writes me 2.5 hours later at 1:30 a.m. saying, "I'm going to sleep. Write you when I get up. Love you." And I read her back. No mention of being tired, no mention of not being able to do a call, no mention of what she had been doing for the last 2.5 hours. I'm not controlling, it's just something she always communicates. It felt really distant, cold, and out of character. And I got this really bad gut feeling. My gut feelings are usually right, and I don't disregard them. For reasons I'll explain further down, I had a bad feeling about the whole trip. But nothing that really tingled my spidey senses until now. So I had to find out what was up. She left her laptop at home, which syncs messages, so I could see things happen in real time. She had a message thread with this guy, let's call him K. Last message she sent him was at the same time she wrote me last, and it was a single emoji, a heart with a band-aid. I'd never even seen that emoji before and have no clue what it means. I left the laptop open while I was getting ready for bed, and holy F, I see a message from my wife saying, "Come to room 3. At this point, my heart is racing like crazy. I'm shouting, I'm crying, I'm devastated because even though I had a bad feeling, my wife was the last person on earth I ever thought would do something like this. I've had a prior relationship where I was cheated on a couple of times, and I learned to recognize the type. My wife was the complete opposite, or she's just excelling at hiding it. So I'm running through all these scenarios in my head. Maybe room 3 is something else, and they're going to party with other people a bit more. But why write only K? Maybe he's going through some stuff and he needs to talk? Maybe she's asking K to come to her room for V, the roommate. But why didn't V write K in the first place? What would K do with V with my wife in the room anyway? Barring any kinky stuff. Is my wife even staying at the same room as V? She told me a week before she left she was, but they could have switched? While my mind is still racing, I see that K's message hasn't been delivered. Maybe he doesn't have battery. 1 hour later, K writes, "Going there." The message stays unread, so I'm thinking maybe she's asleep and he'll knock on the door and go back and write her back. But the message stays unread for the next 7 hours, during which I force myself to stay awake because it's the only way I can see anything happen. And then, in real time, I see the whole thread get deleted. At this point, the few legitimate scenarios I was holding in my head completely vanish. 1 hour later, my wife writes another coworker saying she has K's phone and to let him know. K and my wife don't write each other the whole day. Now, the reason why I had a bad feeling the whole trip was because a couple weeks earlier, my wife, a friend, and I went out for drinks and met her coworkers. I had met a few of them prior, but not K. I heard of K in passing, and I don't think she even works directly with him, which made sense as to why I would always hear much more about the other coworkers. We go to this bar, we're dancing, K is holding something in his hand, which my wife takes from him and puts in her pocket in a teasing way. And that's when I had my first gut feeling. She's acting very differently towards this coworker versus everyone else. We all go outside, I'm talking to someone else, and she's talking to K. She's very close. She touches his arm for 2 seconds too long. A couple of minutes later, they hug. I'm pissed because this whole week she has been overworked, going out with her coworkers, and showing little affection towards me, but she's doing it towards this guy. We go home, I say exactly that, and then I'm going to sleep on the sofa. She blows things out of proportion. "How do you dare?" Packs things in a backpack and says she's going to a hotel. It's too late, no hotel will check her in, so I say, "Go ahead." She leaves, but I don't hear the door downstairs close. She left her iPad at home, where she's logged into Instagram. Not proud of it once again, but I had to see what's up. I see a thread with her making some plans for a drink with this other guy she hasn't seen in years. But it didn't seem that suspicious. As far as I know, they've always been just friends. And then I see that get deleted in real time. So I get really hung up on it, missing other threads being deleted that I didn't get a chance to read. Because I was drunk, I text her about these plans. She first says she only wants to see her friend. I told her that's a lie. Then she says they didn't really make plans. I told her I saw the messages. She keeps denying it, never saying that it's just a friend or something. Then she switches to, "How dare you doubt me?" again, and, "I'm so stressed at work. I'm sorry I'm not enough. I can't be everything to everyone." I tell her if I misunderstood something, that she can come upstairs and we can clear it up. She comes, but again, doesn't clear or admit anything, and the convo is all about how she isn't enough. She was crying uncontrollably, and I felt bad, so I went to sleep next to her. Because both of our weeks were quite busy, we don't talk about this again, but we make plans to do so when she comes back. Last couple of days before she left, we went on dates and had amazing sex. In the message thread with Kay, I could see some slightly flirty messages from both sides about her sleeping on his shoulder on the plane. No way they got adjacent seats due to how the check-in works, so they had to purposely move. Although, since all coworkers spent a lot of time together in person, it makes sense that there's not a lot more in that thread. Yesterday, she got to the hotel. I know because of Find My iPhone. So I waited for her to write me or call me. I waited for half an hour, and I wrote to her asking if she was still out because I'm going to be. She calls me saying she just got to her room. Her neck, all the way down to between her breasts, is red. I can see due to what she's wearing. Like when we're making out and my beard is short and it rubs on her skin. I ask her about it. She acts surprised like she didn't know and tells me it was probably her scarf. But this is clearly on one side only and goes down further than a scarf would. I didn't want to press further because I can't let her know I'm onto her too much. I still need hard evidence. We proceeded to talk for an hour, but she was a bit fussy, not like the other days when she gets to the room and immediately starts getting ready for bed. She has pretty much the same routine, always. I felt like she was delaying getting ready for bed, except for putting on pajamas. So I keep stalling, trying to see if Kay is going to write her, or vice versa. And then I ask her about the sauna. She says she barely went in because it was packed. Then I ask her other details, and they don't seem to line up. I had been awake for 36 plus hours at this point, so I was recording the convo to make sense of it later. We ended the call. I finally went to sleep. Sleeping never felt so good. Woke up this morning. No messages from Kay or my wife to each other. She FaceTimes me a couple of hours later. Besides a quick check-in, she says, "I'll write you whenever I can. If I don't, it's because there's a lot happening and it's hard balancing being here and being there. It's not because I'm doing something else that you might be thinking." If you made it till here, thank you. Thank you, thank you. My head has been spinning around these last couple of days. There's so much I'm not sure of, but divorce has been on my mind constantly. We had plans to buy a house and have a baby next year. Even if nothing happened, she betrayed my trust by telling me she was going to sleep and then inviting Kay to her room. Even if that hadn't happened, she betrayed my trust by maintaining a closer relationship with Kay after I said I wasn't comfortable with that. She's risking her career. I'm sure her coworkers would be suspicious by now, and her relationship. And I can't really live the rest of my life looking at every single thing as a possible sign of cheating. She had 2 symmetrical spot bruises on her thighs that I only noticed a couple of days after she went out with her coworkers that she couldn't explain, and I sure as hell didn't cause them. Or feeling forced to snoop. But at the same time, I feel like this is all too weak as evidence for a divorce. Our accounts are separated, logistic reasons, too long to explain, so it's not that simple. The car is in her name. I can't just threaten a divorce, or discuss it with her because I'm afraid she'll move the money and I'll have to start from scratch. And ultimately, I'm heartbroken because, damn, I love her so much. She is the love of my life, my soulmate, but I also feel like the person I love isn't there anymore, and all it took was a couple of days. I don't really know what to do next. What if I'm wrong? Edit. She's now being very flirtatious with me over text. She hasn't been like this in weeks. Edit 2. Forgot to mention she's been working from home since she joined the company in January, so she's only met her coworkers maybe a dozen times in person. Edit 3. There's no new apps purchased on the App Store that I can see, but something occurred to me. They both use Slack for work, which is much more convenient and hideable than starting to use a separate app. Edit 4. She called me again. She's back at the first location, staying at the hotel. Worked from the office all day. One of the first things she told me was her arm was bruised and she might have bruised it at the other location, but she doesn't really know how. I couldn't see it on camera because it was too dark. She then said, "I'm all bruised up. Well, not all bruised up, just the bruise." Weird. Let's let the detective community help him out. Terser78 says, "I'd say this is past the point of needing a divorce. Yes, she is clearly acting shady if she is deleting text messages. She has a job that takes her long distance for long periods of time, and now you feel the need to constantly track her messaging history? That's enough to say this won't work. I'd start planning your separation because this just isn't a way to live a healthy life. It's consuming you too much and creating too much dread. No one can say for sure how far inappropriately she has gone, but there's enough circumstantial evidence to make you doubt her true intentions. Shady people do shady things. Deleting text messages is a shady thing. As you said, she betrayed your trust by punishing this relationship with Kay after you made your intentions clear. That is enough to divorce and to know she isn't your forever person. The relationship will only get worse from here." What doesn't kill you is next, and they lay out the hard facts. Cheating is deception. You have a bunch of deception from your wife regarding to Kay. She deletes. She is flirty with Kay. Even at a bar in front of you, some flirty shady stuff went on. She swaps seats in the air and sleeps on his shoulder. She misleads as to her activities while with Kay. She asks him to room 3 and he says he will be there. She has his phone. You have brought up your suspicions and her reaction was completely off for an honest person. An honest person would say, "I see how my behavior was suspicious. I understand why you might think that. I'm sorry, but this is a misunderstanding. Let me show you why you are wrong." That is a reasonable response to having done what she did so far. Her response was defensive and aggressive. Those are ways in which guilty people who are under suspicion. Keep this in mind throughout this game playing. It's more traumatizing to see it play out in real time. To infuse more reality, you are seeing it in the second act of this play. Something had been going on at the time of the bar already. What I'm going to advise is not how I would handle it, but I think you are unable to do what I would. After I give you recommendations on what to do, I will tell you how I would handle it so you can see a different option. I suggest getting a PI now for when she gets home. The PI will get your background and your suspicions, and then the PI will guide you as to how, when, where to investigate the possible affair. If you have access to the phone records, get them. Look at the logs and see how often she contacts him. If you see any number on there a lot, or odd times of the day, see who they are. Look into Kay. If you can find his social media online, if he is married, kids, what his circumstances is, where he lives, his title, his working location in the company. In the meantime, stop asking about her shadiness or Kay. Can you do that? It is easier to catch her quicker if she thinks you have dropped it. If anything, fake trying to improve yourself and be extra nice to her. Get a consultation with an attorney and see what a divorce looks like. With no kids, it's pretty easy. You don't seem to have major assets that might be hard to sell, like a house, so I don't think this is a priority. But knowing how it works might help soothe your anxiety, the fear of unknown, and all that stuff. Let's review what you haven't seen as well as what you saw. You didn't see any overt sex talk or I love you stuff. You saw flirty stuff. She contacted Kay in a way that you could see, and those things were not in it. There was no indication that they have another way they communicate for secrecy. Don't ask questions for the time being, so you still have access. Now that you are aware, you will see a lot more shade. You may find a smoking gun. If so, then confront. In the meantime, be ready as to what you want. I don't think you would divorce immediately. No kids, no house. Many would say physical sex is a deal breaker. Divorce. I don't sense that from you. So if you are unsure, keep both options open. Tell her she has to start looking for a new job. Can't stay where Kay works. Has to end contact with Kay and end the affair. Write a timeline of when and how it happened. Frequency, how she felt about you. Anything else you want. Have her write it down. Don't give her an ultimatum or threat. She knows divorce is on the table. No need to say it. Just tell her that her not ending the affair, doing reasonable things to make you feel that it won't continue, like leaving that job where he is, being open and honest, will eventually lead to a divorce. But in the short term, you are not ready for that yet. When you are ready, you will file. Now, how I would handle it. To preface, your wife has deceived you, lied to you, so this is not an open, honest, genuine relationship. This is not a, let's give her the benefit of the doubt situation. She has lied. I would hold her feet to the fire. I need to see the phone. I need the deleted messages. I will try to recover the messages. If I can't do it on my own, I will bring it to a computer specialist. At that point, Maybe she would come clean. I'm not sure how much you need. She would never tell you the full truth. She might tell you she kissed him. Redneck, she knows you know. And they laid in the bed talking and held hands and kissed and nothing more. You wouldn't believe how many guys believe crap like that. Read the stories here. It's amazing how blind love can make people. If you were in that situation, having lied, wouldn't you, and any reasonable person, understand? Would she be willing to leave the marriage because you are so suspicious of her lies that caused it, rather than show you how you were wrong? Even if it turned out that she had not actually cheated, she did lie. That is unacceptable. I don't want to accuse falsely. I also don't want to be lied to.